Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I hope you are having a great day. My name is Eric. Thanks for joining us. Today on Celebrate Sausage, we're going to be talking about an ingredient that's commonly found in sausage making recipes. We're going to be talking about non-fat dry milk. I personally don't like adding ingredients to my sausage that I'm unfamiliar with. You know, I think it's important for you to know what's going in your sausage, what it does, how it works, and I believe that kind of levels you up as a sausage maker. It gives you more control and power over the sausages that you do make. And since there seems to be a lot of confusion about non-fat dry milk, today we're going to demystify it. We're going to talk about what it does, what it doesn't do, what it's really good at, what it's not really good at. We're going to talk about where to use it, and we're going to talk about how to use it. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of non-fat dry milk to determine whether it's a product that's right for you to use. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what non-fat dry milk is. Non-fat dry milk basically serves three functions in sausage making recipes. The first function of non-fat dry milk is that of a binder, and a binder is basically anything that you would add to your sausage meat that helps the process of your meat and your fat coming together to form a tight bond, which is going to positively affect the texture of the sausage and the mouthfeel of a sausage. There are a lot of binders on the market today, and each binder has its own unique properties. You know, it affects the sausage differently. And in my opinion, on a scale from the absolute worst binder to the absolute best binder, non-fat dry milk, in my opinion, kind of falls about middle of the road. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It does an okay job as a binder. So that's the first function of non-fat dry milk. The second function of non-fat dry milk is its moisture retention properties. So when it comes to making sausages, you have several different types of moisture. You have something called bound moisture. Now that's the moisture within the meat. It's molecularly bound to the meat itself. And then you have added moisture, and that's typically what we add to the sausage during the recipe, whether it's beer, chicken stock, water, milk, cream, it doesn't matter. All that's called added moisture. When you add non-fat dry milk to your recipe, you increase the moisture retention properties of your sausage, which means you can generally add a little bit more moisture, you know, it doesn't matter what the liquid is, than you normally would. Generally, with non-fat dry milk, you can go up to about 10% moisture. Whereas under normal circumstances, it's recommended that you add about 5% moisture. So you can double the amount of liquid, and non-fat dry milk will actually form an irreversible gel trapping that moisture in the sausage. So just to let you know, for me, this particular function, the moisture retention capability of non-fat dry milk, is the primary reason why you'll see this ingredient in my recipes. Not so much for binding capabilities, but almost exclusively for its ability to retain moisture. And the third function of non-fat dry milk is flavor. If you add this product to your sausage, it will impart a very nice creamy flavor, which I personally like, and it adds, you know, a certain je ne sais quoi to your sausage. All right, now that you know what it is, let me explain where to use it. And before I begin, I just want to say that you can literally add this to all of your sausage recipes. It really doesn't matter what type of sausage that you're making. From fresh sausage, grilled, you know, smoked, you can add non-fat dry milk. But certain sausages will benefit from the addition of non-fat dry milk more than others. The first group of sausages that benefit from non-fat dry milk are the emulsified sausages. So if you're going to be making anything from a hot dog to a mortadella, the addition of non-fat dry milk, although it's not the best binder on the market, does a really good job helping that process of the meats and the fats come together to form a really good emulsion. It's very difficult to make an emulsified sausage without some sort of a binder, and I find that non-fat dry milk in the emulsified sausages that we do does a really good job. The second group of sausages that greatly benefit from non-fat dry milk are sausages that are going to be cooked low and slow. Basically, any sausage that's going to be cooked at a low temperature for a very long time. If you've watched any of our sausage making videos, there's a handful of sausages that we make that sit inside my smoker at very low temperatures for the better part of 7, sometimes 8, 9 hours. And in that environment, the moisture that's in the sausage will slowly begin to evaporate. So when you add non-fat dry milk to those types of sausages, you increase the moisture retention properties and you decrease the shrinkage. By the time your sausages are done cooking, you're not only going to have a bigger yield, but you're also going to have plump, juicy sausages. So in my opinion, those two sausage families greatly benefit with the addition of non-fat dry milk. But like I said in the beginning, you can add it to all your sausage recipes and it'll be okay. One little thing I want to mention about non-fat dry milk, especially if you're just getting started into sausage making, is that the addition of non-fat dry milk to your recipes will cover up a multitude of sins that are generally made by the novice sausage maker. It is a good crutch, and you don't necessarily need to be a pro to produce a pro-style product when you use non-fat dry milk. Now, with that being said, it is an optional ingredient, and an experienced sausage maker can produce a juicy sausage with a great snap and a great bite and a lot of flavor without the addition of non-fat dry milk. And so you can weigh out whether or not it's right for you. Next, I want to talk about how to use non-fat dry milk, and this is crazy easy. When you buy non-fat dry milk, it's going to come in the powder, and the amount that you add to your recipe can range between 2% and 4% of your weight of your meat. So normally, I'll add around 2% of non-fat dry milk when I choose to use that product. But like I said, anywhere from 2% to 4% of the weight of your meat can be non-fat dry milk. And when it comes time to actually add it to the meat, you have two options. The first option is to dissolve it in water. If you're going to dissolve it in water, make sure you dissolve it in cool water because it does have a tendency to clump up if you dissolve it in warm water. So just make sure your water is cool, add your non-fat dry milk to the water, and then mix it around. The other option, which is the way I typically do it, is just take the non-fat dry milk powder, mix it with the rest of my ingredients, my spices, and then just add it to the meat then. I find that to be the easiest way, but both ways work. It really doesn't matter. All right, and finally, as we wrap up this segment on non-fat dry milk, let's talk about where to get it. And I got to be honest, this particular segment is quite possibly the most misunderstood part about non-fat dry milk. And so I'm going to kind of break it down for you, two guys in a cooler style, and hopefully by the end of this little segment, you'll have a better idea of non-fat dry milk and where to get it. All right, so in front of me, I've got two versions of non-fat dry milk. This version over here was bought from the sausage maker, and this version over here was bought from my supermarket. And before I tell you the differences between this version and this version, I want to run a couple tests. The first is the smell test. So let's give this one a smell. Okay, and let's give this one a smell. Okay. Truth be told, they both smell pretty similar. They both smell like dry milk. They have kind of a dairy smell to them, and so I wouldn't say there's a huge difference between those. Let's see how they feel in the hand. All right, so when I rub some in my fingers, they both feel exactly the same. They start off feeling a little like cornstarch, but it's not as silky, and it's actually, as you can see right here, it's a little sticky on the fingers. And it looks like both of these products are acting the exact same way. All right, so let me get my hands cleaned. All right, so the next test that we're going to run is how do they dissolve in water. I've got some cool water right here, and all we're going to do is add this to the water, give it a little whisk. All right. Now, both of these have exactly 1 cup of water, and both of these have exactly a 1/4 cup of non-fat dry milk powder. All right, so we're just going to whisk that real good, make sure we get it all mixed up. This definitely dissolves better in cool water, and as it looks right now, no problem dissolving this. Looks like it's completely dissolved. Let's go ahead and mix this one in some cool water and see what happens. Oh. Okay. All right, so it looks like both products dissolved at about the same rate, so no difference there. Let's give them a taste. So we'll start with this one that's from the sausage maker. All right. Now let's try this one. Okay, as far as taste goes, they taste pretty similar. I mean, this one might have a slightly, richer flavor, but the truth is it's hard to tell the difference apart. On a blind taste test, I don't think one would be able to discern which one is which. So herein lies the confusion. We've got a product from the grocery store, we've got a product from the sausage maker. They both smell the same, they both feel the same in the fingers, they both dissolve at the same rate, and they both, for the most part, taste the same. And so most people believe that all non-fat dry milk powders or skim milk powders are the same, and nothing could be further from the truth. Matter of fact, let me show you the packaging that the non-fat dry milk came in from the grocery store. They were able to pull it out of a larger sack. And if you pay close attention to the writing on the side of that sack, you're going to notice something that says LH. All right, well, that stands for low heat. Now, let me show you the packaging that the sausage maker's non-fat dry milk came out of. And it also is made by the exact same company, but on the sausage maker's brand, you're going to notice that it says high heat. So what you end up having is multiple versions of non-fat dry milk depending on the type of heat that was applied to it during processing. As a matter of fact, you actually have 3 versions of non-fat dry milk: high heat, medium heat, and low heat. And for the purpose of this video, we're only going to talk about high heat and low heat because really those are the only 2 that are applicable and at the source of all of this misunderstanding. So let's talk about low heat non-fat dry milk. Low heat non-fat dry milk is heated to about 160 degrees Fahrenheit for no more than a couple of minutes. And when it undergoes this low heat treatment, it becomes a very acceptable and suitable substitute for milk. Matter of fact, this is the most common version of instant non-fat dry milk powder that you're going to find at your grocery store. So if you go to your grocery store right now and you see skim milk powder or non-fat dry milk powder, you are looking at the low heat version. And low heat non-fat dry milk is used in the dairy industry. It's used in ice cream making, in cheese making. It's a great addition to buttermilk and yogurt. You can make cottage cheese with it. It greatly improves the mouthfeel and the texture of milkshakes. And so that's generally where low heat non-fat dry milk is used. If you add low heat non-fat dry milk to your sausage recipe, the absolute most benefit you'll get is possibly a creamier flavor from the milk powder. You're not going to get the binding capabilities, and you're certainly not going to get the moisture retention capabilities. And so you'd be better off saving your money and not even adding it to your recipe. Now that brings us to high heat non-fat dry milk. High heat non-fat dry milk is heated to above 190 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. So it's not only heated hotter, it's heated longer. And what that means is that by the time it undergoes this process, you're going to have less undenatured whey protein nitrogen, which is now going to give your high heat non-fat dry milk water retention capabilities and binding properties. High heat non-fat dry milk is typically reserved for the meat industry, sausage production, meat production. It's also used heavily in the baking industry because it has a wonderful ability to retain moisture, and it actually produces a nice golden color when it's cooked. If you want to take your pizza crust up to a whole nother level, add high heat non-fat dry milk. It'll completely change your world. So what we're looking at are 2 completely different products with 2 completely different functions: high heat non-fat dry milk and low heat non-fat dry milk. They're not interchangeable. So if you take low heat non-fat dry milk, I'm talking about the kind of stuff you would buy at your supermarket, and you try to add it to your sausage, you're not going to get the same benefits as if you were to use high heat. And same thing goes the other way around. If you take high heat non-fat dry milk and try to add it to your milkshakes, your ice creams, your yogurt, your cottage cheese, you're not going to get the same benefit as if you were to use low heat non-fat dry milk. All right, now hopefully you now know the difference between high heat non-fat dry milk and low heat non-fat dry milk. And the next time you look at a recipe and it says non-fat dry milk, it's actually calling for the high heat version. And I've got to say, I've never seen high heat non-fat dry milk sold at a grocery store. Now, it doesn't mean they don't sell it. It just means I've never seen it. The only place I've ever seen high heat non-fat dry milk sold is at sausage supply houses. I get mine from the sausage maker, They sell it in a 5-pound tub and a 1-pound tub. And I'm going to put a link in the description box below in case you want to read up about it or in case you need some for yourself. And that wraps up today's episode. And hopefully I've been able to answer most of your questions, and you now know the difference between the different varieties of non-fat dry milk, how to use them, where to use them, when to use them, and whether it's a right product for you in your sausage making adventures. If you still have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer all questions. And if you found this video informative or entertaining in any way, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And if you're new to our channel, we'd like to say welcome. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and that notification bell. We are just getting started on a month-long journey of daily uploads for sausage making, and I don't want you to miss a single episode. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.